Welcome to my channel. In this video, we will flip the coin, and we will see who did get knocked out throughout this debate. We'll closely look at the facts in this video, separating those who think clearly from those who spread propaganda. Our goal is to identify people who make sense and exclude those who don't belong in a community of sensible individuals.
Israel tonight, yeah.
Today it was a sea of other stories have come out in the last few days, which have been concerning, I think. For anyone who, like me, believes that Israel has not just a moral duty to defend itself, but has a fundamental right to do so after what happened on October the 7th. And I've said that clearly from the start. It's always been, for me, the issue of proportionality. And it seems that in the last few days, there have been a number of incidents which really question whether Israel is being precise, as it says it is, or indiscriminate. And I would cite the killing of the 3 hostages. I would cite the killing of the 2 women outside the Catholic Church. I would cite the President of the United States saying that they're using indiscriminate bombing, and so on. Do you, Douglas, notwithstanding your full throttle support of Israel, does anything that's been happening make you think Israel needs to execute this war differently?
No, and I think that most of the people who think they know how to execute this war have never executed a war. Indeed, most people who think they know how the IDF should be running this conflict have never been near a conflict. Can you imagine what it was like for those soldiers who were in Gaza, knowing that at any point there are snipers, there are booby traps everywhere, people coming out of tunnels that they've built at British and American taxpayer expenses and attacking them?
Why would they, but Douglas, on that, why would they shoot anyone who was shirtless and waving an SOS flag?
As for the main issue of the war is to destroy Hamas. No Israeli of left or right or centre believes anymore after October the 7th that they can live beside Hamas. Hamas has been given the statelet of Gaza. It was given it in 2006, voted in, then killed their fellow Palestinians in a coup, killed Fatah rivals, and they've run the Gaza for almost 18 years now. And they've produced a new generation of people whose main aim in life, it seems, according to their textbooks and their classes, is to regard Jews as enemies who should be killed.
Let's break down the arguments and facts what Douglas used. The first argument is against the statement. Can the war be executed differently? The answer is no, and whoever says that actually never been in war. We are taking this argument, as nearly all the so-called clever experts never been in war. The second argument and a fact is that for Israel Defense Force soldiers in Gaza, there is a nightmare due to not only snipers and Hamas fighters, but also due to tunnels, traps, and so on, built by British taxpayers. 100% accurate fact. The third argument is that the main issue is to destroy Hamas and the whole society. Even lefties knows that Hamas is a deadly virus, and the only way to get rid of the virus, what potentially will kill you, is to kill the virus itself. Obviously, we agree on that argument. The last argument, which is a fact, as you all know, there was a given state to Palestinians in 2005, and what they did is voted Hamas. Hamas killed the opposition and made from Gaza a terror state instead of investing money in the Gaza's future. Strong argument, and I hope I will hear the response. Now, let's see what and how Henk will parry these arguments.
Is there anything that Douglas said that you agree with?
No, nothing.
Not even about the way Hamas has presided over Gaza in the last 18 years?
Yeah. So that's a weapon of mass distraction. It's Israel doing genocide on the Palestinians right now. And there's IDF soldiers singing and in video that the IDF has confirmed about how they're going to wipe out the seed of Amalek. So they're talking about genocide against Palestinians. Benjamin Netanyahu has also talked about wiping out Amalek. These are open calls for genocide. There's 20,000 dead people in Palestine right now in Gaza. over 8,000 of them are children. When 36 Israeli children were killed by Hamas, the world cried out, and I was brokenhearted over it. 36 poor kids dead in Israel. Now there's over 8,000 dead kids in Gaza. But I want to be clear, it is not shared by all Israelis. The dad of one of the hostages who was killed went on Israeli television and said, "Stop killing them." And he didn't mean the hostages. He meant the Palestinians.
On this issue of genocide, do you accept, though, that Hamas's whole raison d'etre when it comes to Israel is genocide? They want to eradicate Israel and kill as many Jews as they can. I mean, they've made no secret of this.
Yeah, so this is really important. So I have no sympathy for Hamas. So I'm not interested in defending Hamas. I think that's nothing but a distraction. Because right now they're not fighting Hamas. They're just killing Palestinian civilians.
Well, they're also killing Hamas terrorists. They are. I mean, they're killing thousands of them.
Barely. No, wait a minute. Barely. But let's go to your main point, okay? So the main point is, well, Hamas threatens X, Y, and Z and has killed 1,200 people on October 7th. So that is why we have to all worry about what Hamas might do in regards to trying to... Hold on, let me finish the point. Let me finish the point. At what they might do if they had infinite power, the kind of power that Israel has. Meanwhile, Israel is actually doing the genocide.
Let's break it down. On the Douglas presented fact about Hamas running Gaza. For last 18 years and the terror tunnels built under the houses of Palestinians. The Henk's only argument is, this is weapon of mass destruction. Why would any human being in his mind would take this counter-argument? Where are the proofs that Hamas actually did not do that? And this is only a weapon of mass destruction? Henk's argument lost. Second statement, what Henk gave us is, he simply called Israel a terrorist state and accused it doing a genocide, as you all know. We can take this statement as a fact only. When judges in International Court of Justice will find Israel guilty, tell that. This is simple hysteria. Third argument is about the number of killed people in Gaza and Israel, but is there any logical reason why you would compare it? The Ukrainians are killing more Russians on the battlefield, and does it now mean that Ukraine needs to stop its fight against the occupier simply based on ratio? Nonsense. Fourth, Henk's statement is that he does not agree that Hamas wants to kill every Jew. Can someone please send a video of Hamas leaders to Henk when they say by their own words what they want actually do? Also by Henk's words, for a society to fight a Hamas, it's nothing but distraction. So according Henk, the world should not fight Hamas, should not ask them to release the hostages, but all what we actually can and should do is to blame Israel by very loud but false statements. Henk not only parried none of Douglas' arguments, but he gave his own statements, which are not backed up with any facts and common sense. Let's see what Douglas will respond.
The genocide that you describe is such a smear and a libel against the Jewish state. If Israel wanted to commit genocide, I'm sure it could, but it doesn't. It doesn't remotely want to. And people like you and other pro-Palestinian propagandists have spent years claiming that Israel is committing genocide in the Gaza. By the way, the weirdest thing about this claim is that the population of the Gaza has grown by 1 million in the last 15 or so years. Secondly, of course, you've just rattled off Hamas figures, as everyone of your kind always does. Thirdly, you said that the world cried out for the 36 Israeli dead children. No, they didn't. And you know that very well. You know that very well. If you put up a poster to a missing dog in any Western city, that poster stays up. In city after city in America, Posters of abducted Jewish children, including a 10-month-old baby, were put up and were ripped down by people who have been indoctrinated into hate of Jews. Nobody would rip down the poster of a missing dog, but from Dublin to Berkeley, they ripped down posters of abducted Jewish children. Firstly, you said what Hamas might do, as if it was some kind of hypothetical. Hamas showed what they do, what they want to do. It showed it on October the 7th, and its leadership, as I'm sure you very well know, said that they would like to repeat that again and again until they have got rid of every Jew. So, I don't know. I would trust Hamas's word on that rather than your interpretation of what you think they mean when they say that, and your generous interpretation of what you think that means. They gave the Gazans a Palestinian state in 2005. They gave them a Palestinian state in 2005 when every Jewish person was ripped from their homes in the Gaza by IDF soldiers. And the Palestinian people were given a state. And what did they do? They voted in Hamas, who then killed their fellow Palestinians, never had another election, and used all the billions of dollars of taxpayer funds from the US, UK, and Europe to build terror tunnels and to enrich themselves so they could live the life of luxury in Qatar. I would pose this to all the states in the region. If Jordan cared at all for the Palestinian people, they would take them in.
Right,
they would
Jake,
take them in. They don't want them. If the Egyptians wanted them, they'd take them in, but they don't. Do you know why? Because every country that takes in the Palestinians gets terror. It happened in Egypt, it happened in Jordan, it happened in Syria, it happened in Lebanon, it happened in Tunisia, on and on. That's why these people don't really care about their fellow Muslims. They just care about hating Jews.
All right, I won't repeat what Douglas said, as he backed it up very strongly himself. Let's just make notes of the facts and arguments what Douglas presented. The first argument is again the response on the genocide. Come on, Henk, prove it in the court before shout. The second argument is about Hamas figures. This is self-explanatory. The third fact is about dead Israel children. Why would you rip off the poster of a missing or dead kid? So please, Henk, stop talking crap. This is self-explanatory as well. The fourth fact is about Hamas's actual and hypothetical actions. Douglas simply finished Henk's career. The fifth fact about the Palestinian state. The Palestinians indeed were given a state and billions of dollars. What did they get as an outcome? The so-called freedom fighters did not even build shelters for their people, but instead each of Hamas leaders is a multi-millionaire. And each Friday they are drinking cold whiskey and making bets in casinos using Palestinian people's money. The sixth fact is that Muslims do not take Palestinians as refugees. What an amazing brotherhood. But at the same time, half of Western haters live in the Western countries such as the UK or USA. Now we will see if Henk is capable of presenting an actual fact or all what we will hear is hysteria.
All right, Cenk, your response.
Yeah, so you asked if he cared about 8,000 dead babies, and his answer was no. Queen Rania bothers me, so complete non-answer, because he doesn't care. So we've got all of these dead babies. We've got all of these dead babies that this monster doesn't care about. He says keep bombing them. A former intelligence officer said in the Israeli press they're using AI in a program called The Gospel, where he said it's basically a mass assassination factory. So would I want Hamas in charge of Israel? Never, never. I don't trust them, and I don't believe that they would be benign. So all of this propaganda about, people don't mind Hamas. No, we mind Hamas. We terribly what happened on October 7th. But when you ask the other side, do you mind tens of thousands of civilians that have been murdered, incinerated alive, body parts picked out of rubble, little babies killed over and over again? Definition.
Before I go to Douglas, Cenk, one question. You want to get rid of Hamas too, as does Douglas, as do I. If you don't do it the way that Israel is currently doing it, given that they live amongst the population, how else do you do it?
Yeah, there's an excellent way to do it, and there's the right way to do it. So let me explain. So war, this guy talks about, I love war. I go to all the conflict zones. So by watching it and rooting on for more death, I know something about conflict. You know nothing. So here's what reality is. War gets you more war. But peace actually works. So when Israel did a peace deal with Egypt, not only were the Egyptians safe, but the Israelis became safer. That peace deal has held for decade after decade. So how do you do a peace deal in this case? What you do is you do the two-state solution now, and you do it with the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank. And if you then have a Palestinian state, the Palestinian Authority would have the credibility to drive out Hamas from Gaza. That is a realistic plan for both peace, security for Israel and the Palestinians, and driving out Hamas. The idea that you're going to kill...
If we skip Henk's hysteria, then the question is, why is Henk putting words in Douglas's mouth and says that Douglas wants to kill more babies? I did not hear that, nor you as well. Are you Henk on drugs? But we will give Henk a chance, as now he is actually offering something instead of shouting. Henk is offering to do a two-state peace deal with Palestinian authorities in the West Bank and hope that the West Bank will drive out Hamas. Well, at least this is an offered solution. Let's see what Douglas might respond to that.
On to it. You say first of all, I don't care about the death of Palestinian children. Yes, I do care. I care very deeply about it. But I also know that the responsibility for their deaths lies on Hamas, which has misgoverned their society for the last 16 years and now has been leading the country into being in a war with Israel. So yes, it's on Hamas. You said that this is why we need to push for a two-state solution and give legitimacy to the Palestinian Authority. I'll tell you something you don't know, because I guess you spent no time in the West Bank, have you? I'll tell you something you probably don't know. The Palestinian Authority, Fatah, celebrated the 7th of October massacres. 1 million Uyghur Muslims in China have been put in concentration camps in the last decade. And people of your ilk never really care about that, do you? Because it's not the Jews doing it, it's the Chinese Communist Party. At the moment, 1 million people who are in Pakistan at the moment, who are your fellow Muslims and who happen to be Afghan, and I don't think you care about them, do you? 1 million Afghans are currently being forcibly deported from Pakistan to Afghanistan. You don't care about that. You're not riled up about that. You're not riled up about what the Janjaweed are currently doing in Sudan, where thousands and thousands of people are being attacked by the Islamist militia there. You don't care about any of that. You get exercised and you rile up what little base you have of malcontents because you're riled up when the Jews do anything.
Here we go. Douglas pointed out that Henk is putting words in his mouth, and also said that these deaths are on Hamas. And why would they not be? Hamas started this war. Now fighting this war underground in tunnels, they are dressed like civilians. And Palestinians do not even have shelters. Of course, it is Hamas' responsibility and fault. This is obvious for every person capable of thinking logically. The second fact in response to Henk's offer is that the West Bank did celebrate 7th of October. And Henk is offering to give power to the West Bank. I won't even comment on that. The third argument is regarding the Muslim issues round the world, but it looks like that Henk is that loud and excited when we only talk about Jews. I did not see Henk being so brave. In fighting for Muslim fellas all around the world, smells like a double or even triple standard.
Obvious.
Okay. Cenk, your response.
Yeah. Okay, first of all, my last name is Uyghur. We're named after the Uyghur Turks in China. And have we talked about that on the Young Turks?
I thought you'd spoken up then.
Yes. We've talked about it endlessly, but you don't know that, and you don't watch the show. But all you have is hatred. Oh, he's an anti-Semite. Kill the Muslims. Kill the Palestinians. And once we kill them, by the way, we'll blame them for it. Israel had to murder all those babies in Palestine because Hamas made us do it. Then why are you listening to Hamas? Why are you letting Hamas drive your agenda?
Dear viewers, you all can see what Henk is all about. I did not hear a single valid argument throughout the whole interview. All that I heard from Henk was the hysteria and ability to blame everyone instead of the terror group that invaded Israel, killed and kidnapped people, and is now fighting back from civilian areas. And yet, this is bad for us to blame Hamas for that. Douglas literally smashed him. And I can bet that Henk now wants to end his career after such embarrassing debate. subscribe this channel, comment and like this video. And together we will break down all the crap talkers and hypocrites. We are flipping the coin of truth.